Coaches Chat, where we get to know those that we work for a little bit better. We are out today at Panguitch High School, home of the Bobcats, with boys varsity head coach Clint Barney. Coach, always good to see you. Good to see you again.
Great to be here, and great to have you make the trip here to Panguitch, and I'm excited to do this podcast.
Good. Seems like earlier this year was the last time, right?
Yeah, yes, for sure.
Until all the mess happened. Well, let's jump right in. Tell us a little bit about yourself. Tell us about Coach Barney away from the court.
Sure. You know, I just celebrated my 29th wedding anniversary with my wife.
Good for you.
We have 6 wonderful kids. We're involved in of course, we're a sports family. We love the outdoors. I teach math at Panguitch Middle School, which, I've never had a bad day at work. I love coming to work every day. There might be mornings that I wake up and really don't want to go to work, but that's not because of my job. I love my job. Teaching is the best thing that I do.
How long have you been a teacher?
26 years.
Is that right?
Yep.
That's almost a career.
Yeah, it's almost a career.
Right.
Yeah.
What got you into coaching? How'd that all start?
Really growing up, this is where I was born and raised, graduated from Panguitch High School. I was a student body president
I didn't know that.
at Panguitch High School. Growing up, that was the only thing I could see myself doing. I really wanted to come back home. There are limited options. So I think that was the first thing, is how can I get back to Panguitch? And, we've grown a little bit as far as our businesses. I mean, our hospital's expanded. Back then, it wasn't what it is now. And so I thought, well, teaching's the direction I want to go. I had some great influences coaching-wise. Sports was my thing, not just playing it, but watching it and just being a fan. And I really thought that's something I want to do for the rest of my life. Mm. And so I went in and got a teaching career and graduated from SUU and really wanted to be a head coach. I was dumb enough to think that I was ready. I was ready. I was going to be a head coach. Didn't want to be an assistant. Didn't want to go under anybody. So I
go big or stay home.
Yeah, I looked at the options, and it just so happened to be a job open up at Tinnick High School. Didn't even know where Tinnick. Born and raised in Panguitch in Utah. Had no idea where Tinnick High School was or where Eureka, Utah was. And I went up there and interviewed. They offered me the job. I took the job and took my wife up there and promised her we'd be there 1 year, and we were there 7. And when we left, it was one of the hardest decisions I ever made. And I went from Tintic to Panguitch, and hopefully I won't have to move again.
How long have you coached total?
All 26 years then. So that first job at Tintic High School was my first teaching job. So I've been a head coach for 26 years.
Definitely a full career.
Yeah.
Looking back, hindsight, would you do it again?
Gosh, like I said, I really felt like I was ready for a head coach. I mean, I don't know if you call it arrogance or my ego or what, but it was rough because there were so many things I didn't know. I mean, I screwed up so many things.
What was the biggest eye-opener for you?
I think just dealing with parents and just, when you're in a small school, I'm sure even, 1A school, people say, yeah, 1A, but you know what, this is my home, this is my life, this is the most important thing that I do. Not just the coaching aspect, but as a teacher and as a mentor, as a role model for the kids here in this community. To me, that's big time. To me, that's what I do. And I don't know that I was ready for that exposure and being out there and being that role model and solving all the conflicts and dealing with kids Are they going to be eligible, ineligible, grades, just everything. I mean, yeah, coaching the game was easy. Not easy in the sense as, I won a lot of games, but that was the easy part. I mean, going out on game day and coaching or practices with coaching, but it's everything else that I had no clue.
What about the Bobcats this year? How are you going to be?
Well, we are, interesting fact, and I only say this, when I came to Panguitch, Panguitch High School had been in 5 championship games, won all 5. Okay, so I get in and our first championship, my first championship game I coached in was in 2004. Penguins never lost 5-0 in championship games. I was the first coach to lose a championship game. 3 of the 5 coaches, one had died, but 3 of the 5 coaches that had won those championships still live here in town. And so that was a little bit of pressure. The only reason I say that is because we have played in the championship game 4 years in a row. We won back-to-back state championships, and we have lost back-to-back championships. So we lost last year in the state championship game to a very good Bryce Valley team. It was probably the least likely team I think that I've coached that has made it to a championship game. I was super proud of my kids. We were supposed to be in a rebuilding year, and the kids really did well. We lost one kid off of that team, albeit a good one at that. He was our best defender and size and speed. But we feel good about it. We feel good that we're bringing back 4 starters and have some kids that can fill in that spot. So we feel good about our chances of maybe getting to that 5th in a row.
Flip script here. Referees, officials, officiating. You hear those terms relative to being a head coach. What's the first reaction comes in your mind?
Well, if you're just talking about a referee or an official, the first thing that comes to my mind is an individual that has a lot of common characteristics as I do, same interests that I do. In fact, funny story, was over last Friday night. This is how desperate we are for entertainment in Panguitch. I went over to Beaver to watch a football game. Nobody to watch. Didn't know anybody on either side. Beaver versus Grantsville. And went with my assistant coach, and we went in to eat at a restaurant there in Beaver. And as we were coming out, the officiating crew as we was going in, the officiating crew was coming out. And I knew every one of them. And we bumped fists and chatted a little bit. And, from that point, off of the floor, they're just guys that I see I have a lot in common with. And as far as the love of sports and the love of youth, really.
Game day, always different than the
now game day is going to be different.
Game day is a little bit different ball game, isn't it? As far as refereeing, I know what game day means to me.
Yeah,
I know where I'm going. I know whether it's going to be a tough matchup, a good matchup, not so good. I know who's coaching. I know the personalities a little bit. I know some of the players pretty well. I know my partner. I know what to anticipate. When we come to Panguitch, it's going to be loud. It's going to be supportive. And the coaches are going to want an honest effort out of us. Walk us through your game day. What goes through your mind?
Well, as far as the officials go, very seldom do I go to our officials are taken care of through our secretary at the high school. I would say less than 25% of the time, maybe 1 in 4 games, do I go and ask who's officiating today. Some of that's done on purpose. I really don't want to know, just because I don't want that to play into my head. Because the most important thing is I have to prepare my team for the opponent that I'm going to have, and I can't worry about, the gym I'm going to or the officials that are going to. We need to do what we do well, and so as far as the preparation goes, that starts 2 or 3 days before in practice. just getting us fine-tuned for what we need to do, going over our scouting report, who we need to stop, the defenses we need to do, and things like that. So I am one of those guys. You can ask my kids. I tell them all the time. We don't worry about the outside stuff. We're going to do what we do, and we're going to do that well.
Take care of what you can control.
That's right. Yeah.
Once we toss it up, play starts, we inevitably have to communicate, officials, coach. Our intent is to be short but not rude, be direct but not confronting, so that we can get you back focused on the game and the kids as quickly as possible, because that's what you do best. Talk to me about your thoughts, your approach to how to communicate with officials and what you expect from officials.
Yeah, I like what you said. Be firm, and I really believe that those that have had the biggest effect on me is those that have just been firm and said, "Look, that's enough. This is the way. This is what I saw, and we're done." I really think probably the biggest differences made for me as a coach is, I don't know, how long has it been? It seems like 3 or 4 years ago. I don't know if it was a rule change or what, but you guys came out and you started just warning us at the table. I mean, that's your warning. I think that has been really effective. Do you?
It's a great tool.
Yeah.
It's a great tool. Where before you might be hesitant for a lot of different reasons to go all the way with the technical, that warning can cool us both down.
Yeah.
Us both reset and refocus.
And of course, that's just talking about maybe some disagreements.
Mm-hmm.
But as far as just when the ball goes up, you just expect an honest effort. Hustle, get where you're supposed to be confident in the calls that you make,
mm-hmm.
be confident as you talk to me,
mm-hmm.
That in part is mostly, and then just be consistent throughout the game. I think consistency is really important. I know that sometimes what's called at the end of the game isn't necessarily what's called at the beginning of the game. It would, and of course, it's tough. Consistency, I mean, that's easy to say, but, as the pressure mounts for coaches, players, and officials towards the end of a game, that becomes tough. But consistency, I mean, if we're going to call it one way early, we should call it that way late.
Okay. I've worked for you a fair number of times over the last 8-10 years. I've missed some calls. We both know it. When that happens in a game, an official misses a call, makes a mistake. The official knows it, the coach knows it. How do you go approach handling that interaction with the official?
Probably the most effective thing to me is kind of like the arguments that I have with my wife. I've learned that if I argue with my wife and I just say, sorry, I screwed up, I missed it, that there's no more argument. I mean, she's easily to forgive when I just admit, I blew it. And I have really found, and I've done it too as a coach. I mean, man, I've argued things that I thought, that rule's not right. And have later found out I was in the wrong. And I have actually called officials personally and told them that I was wrong. But during the course of a game, I don't know that you necessarily care to admit you missed a call, but just that's not the way I saw it, Coach. And what is there left to argue about that? I mean, we can argue. I mean, if we want to argue at, say, a charge block, and you want to argue whether the guy was there or not there or whatever, we could argue that till the cows come home. But if that's not the way I saw it, then, I mean, what else am I going to say to you?
Right.
I mean,
all at once tomorrow, we put you in charge of all the officials, and you can get done what it is you want to get done. What's the first priority? In other words, what would you change? What would you teach us?
I just that's a tough one. I think that staying up obviously on the rules. The one thing that and officials are probably left off, just like I feel like coaches are. But every year when the state comes out with their point of emphasis, I mean, this is going to be our point of emphasis this year. We all go through the same clinic. You go through the same one I do, as far as watching, and then we get in the games, and it seems like if it's not that important to you and it's not that important to the coaches, that point of emphasis didn't mean jack. If the high school association feels it's necessary to follow that point of emphasis or to share that with us, I would like to see a more consistent effort in calling those, because that's something that I stress. I mean, I go to that clinic, I see the point of emphasis, and for the first few weeks of practice to start a year, we're focused on that. I mean, we're telling kids this, and then it just seems like it just, it really isn't a point of emphasis. So somebody's got to make that. If that's what the stage chose, then I think it's up to the officials and the coaches to adhere to that.
Fair comments. I agree.
I think what I said earlier, just being consistent, not allowing something to be called at the end of the game that wasn't called at the beginning of the game. I have found that as far as referees being professional and approachable and the way they come to a game, I find 99% of them to be spot on with that kind of stuff. I mean, I don't spend a lot of time, like I said before, only occasionally do I look to see the names of the official, but during the JV game, I'm always watching to see who walks in the door. So always. And you're going to make an immediate first impression on me on how you can, even if it's somebody I know. I mean, if you came in and didn't look up to snuff that day, then I would worry about you a little bit. But 99% of the time, you look good. I don't think it's wrong to interact with the home or visitors, if there's somebody you know, but you can't, I would hate to see you over there with your arm around, Coach Hoyt from Valley when I'm playing. So, I mean, I think you need to be cordial, but yet professional, find a neutral seat, take an interest in the JV game. But as far as changing, look, there are certain things that a high school basketball game has to have. It has to have players, it has to have a venue, and it has to have officials. Probably do without the coach and the fans, but those three things they need. So I have a lot of respect for officials, and I try to treat them right. I mean, I can stomp up and down the sidelines with the best of them, but I think that most people would be pretty surprised at how many technicals I've had over the last 5 to 10 years. I mean, I'll bet maybe 2. And so I try to, I mean, I'm not saying I don't push. And that's when I say that warning has been the best thing for me, because I know at that point, you've had enough. But I have a lot of respect for the officials and think 99% of the time you guys do a great job. I have never, when you go to tournaments, especially Region 20, we still have the region tournament. And for years, they gave us an option to block an official. Mm-hmm. In my now 19th year here at Panguitch, I have never blocked an official. Never. In a tournament, in a game or anything. And there have been some that probably wish they could block me as a coach, and probably have. They probably have said, I'm not going to Panguitch. But I've never, because I really feel like you guys, officials come in with, we're going to do the best job that we can do. And even though there might be feelings and biases there, when the ball goes up, those things are forgotten, and you're going to call the best game you can play. Now, does that mean during the game that there might be something that might sway you one way or the other? Sure. But that's probably more my fault than your fault. But I don't know that I would change anything, more to just say, you know what, you're professionals. and you just need to keep working at it and keep getting better. And I think the clinics are a great idea. When I go down to Dixie State, the clinic, and I see officials there, that impresses me. I mean, I think, wow, I mean, these guys really care to get better on their own time. So I don't know that I'd change anything, but I think for the most part you do a great job.
Good. Final thoughts, wrap up?
You know, I just wondering, you and I talked this a little bit off the recording here, but you know, I think that I worry, and I'll probably be out long before this comes up, but I do worry about the recruiting and younger officials and how, you know, we're going to get younger people involved. Because when I look at games and especially tournaments, our region tournament, state tournament, most of these guys are veteran officials who have been around for years. And you think, man, how long can they go? And so I don't know. I think, I mean, I'm sure you guys are addressing that. I think maybe some of us that are involved in coaching and have kids that have come through the program, maybe we could help in that area. But I see that as a concern, and maybe it's no concern of mine, but it kind of is, because like I said, you need officials, you need players, you need gyms. You probably don't need coaches, but so we need those officials.
Yeah.
But anyway, so I would encourage you to keep finding ways to recruit younger people to get involved.
Yeah. Very good then.
Okay,
Coach, always a pleasure. Thanks.
Thanks for coming out.
We hopefully look forward to seeing you on the court.
You betcha.
Thanks.